strongly indicates that the Indian economy is not dead economy, and whoever who calls the Indian economy dead economy probably is completely out of touch with the reality. Secondly, China and all of us are warmly welcome His Excellency Prime Minister Modi to come to China to attend the SCO summit in Tianjin, which is just a couple 100 kilometers away from Beijing. And I think his presence will really boost the prospect that the SCO members can really gather together to talk about all the issues that mankind is faced with. The fact that Prime Minister Modi is not staying behind, as President Putin will do, to attend the September the 3rd celebration in Beijing is a little bit pity, but nothing in life is perfect. Now, the other thing is that with or without
嗨，欢迎来到果果的新闻频道。本期重要看点：震惊，印度 GDP 增长 7.8%， 西方预言惨遭打脸。就在全球唱衰印度经济时，中国学者高志凯一句话引爆国际舆论场，特朗普竟被公开指控霸凌印度，缺乏基本尊重，而中俄印三国突然越走越近，背后隐藏着什么惊天布局？上合峰会即将上演一场没有美国参与的大国博弈，莫迪总理的抉择将如何改变世界格局？今晚深度解析美国最不愿意看到亚洲联盟的正在诞生，请看前方发来的报道。
Victor, your take on the possible reset between Prime Minister Modi and President Xi and between India and China and Tianjin on the sidelines of the SCO summit.
Thank you very much for having me. First of all, congratulations to India for achieving 7.8% GDP growth. This is truly a spectacular growth rate. It outpaces anyone else. And it also strongly indicates that the Indian economy is not dead economy. And whoever who calls the Indian economy dead economy probably is completely out of touch with the reality. Secondly, China and all of us are warmly welcome His Excellency Prime Minister Modi to come to China to attend the SCO summit in Tianjin, which is just a couple 100 kilometers away from Beijing. And I think his presence will really boost the prospect that the SCO members can really gather together to talk about all the issues that mankind is faced with. The fact that Prime Minister Modi is not staying behind, as President Putin will do, to attend the September the 3rd celebration in Beijing is a little bit pity, but nothing in life is perfect. Now, the other thing is that with or without the United States, China and India need to reset their relations. After all, we are the superpopulations, meaning both of us, each of us has a population more than 1 billion. We have a population of 1.4 billion for each. That means China and India, being the only two superpopulations in the world, have tremendous amount of responsibility for our own people, for each other, and for mankind as a whole. We need to do the right thing. We need to overcome the territorial disputes between us, and we need to engage with each other as equals, rather than, for example, dismissing each other, as President Trump has demonstrated fully that he dismissed India as a great nation. He wants to write off India as if India is not consequential. No, India is consequential. India is impactful, as China is. And I hope we will be held with great respect by all the countries in the world. And the fact that the United States under Trump is not doing the right thing, dealing with India, is really a shame. I'm ashamed to see that India will be dealt with, manhandled like this by the President of the United States. That gives us more incentive to engage with each other as equals, to talk with each other, size up with each other, and whatever differences there are, which may be plenty between China and India, we need to deal with them head along. We do not need to pretend that they do not exist, but we cannot be hijacked by the territorial disputes. Allow me to make one very important point. China-Indian relations is not one-dimensional. There are multiple dimensions. The fact that the territorial dispute is a poison in our relations doesn't mean that the overall relations between China and India should be poisoned by this territorial dispute. we have enough wisdom and courage and vision to transcend this territorial dispute between us. And we want to do the right thing for ourselves and for mankind. And we want to demonstrate to President Trump of the United States that China and India can overcome all the odds and hold each other's hand, move in the same direction, despite of all these challenges and difficulties.
Yeah. The thing is, I'll go to Tatiana now, because, China is it's the world's largest importer of Russian oil, right? It doesn't face 50% tariffs. See, because Trump is a bully, right? Whether you like it or not, David, Richie, Trump is a bully, right? You know it, I know it. You may not want to say it on Indian television, but he's a bully. And he is a bully. Okay, but I'm going to Tatiana. He's a bully. Okay.
Our friends, the Chinese.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the courage to slap 50%.
In China.
No, 1 second. He doesn't have the courage. He lacks the courage.
Come on,
Trump,
David,
hang on,
David.
does not mind if he's It's okay, David. It's okay. My question is to Tatiana. Okay? Don't get irritated. My question is to Tatiana. See, the thing is,
Putin doesn't mind if he's called a strongman.
Yeah, it's okay. Now, the question is, Tatiana, they're going after Russian oil refineries. Now, I'm reading reports, and I wanted to get your view on this, because you're sitting there. They're targeting Russian oil refineries. It's clear they don't like it. They don't like the fact that China is buying Russian oil. They don't like the fact that India is buying Russian oil. And that's why they're going after Russian oil refineries. I'm reading reports that in the last 2 days, there are different numbers. I'd like to get a realistic perspective from you. Some reports saying 5% of oil refineries or oil refineries supplying up to 5% have been hit. Some numbers saying 17%. What's the real number and what's going on the ground?
That's an interesting question that you pose, because, again, the reports that you're reading, there's a reason why it says reports.
Yeah.
Look,
Mostly American.
Let's step back for a second, okay? And I do believe that some of our American speakers will find the things that I say actually interesting. Look, first of all, I wouldn't agree that Donald Trump is a bully per se. He's a showman. And the show that he's been putting on, I think we've discussed this over and over again. Just as we cannot take everything that's being said by anybody within the American establishment completely at face value when it comes to the global good, the so-called global good, because every American leader, as they should really, has been thinking about, number one, about their country, so all the global good they talk about is usually American good. And we need to remember that. But also, I think even by discussing and by indulging in this Trump bashing, it is extremely entertaining, but it is kind of pointless from, I think, the standpoint of the countries of the global South. Look, I mean, the SCO has grown immensely. We're talking about, we're hearing reports and we're talking about finally overcoming the demarcation dispute between India and China, which would an extremely significant development. We need to, if anything, thank Donald Trump for pushing them, together, for making it possible. I think that, as long as we're discussing the democratic side of things, our Democratic speaker has said a lot about, oh, look, the Democrats wanted India to buy Russian oil. Of course they wanted somebody to buy Russian oil, because otherwise, with the sanctions, they would have crashed the oil market, and the first country that would have suffered was going to be the US. Europe is still suffering, We're talking about GDP numbers here. Germany has been in negative numbers for 2 years in a row now?
Yeah.
France is less than half a point. In the meantime, Russia being under every single sanction imaginable, they're always saying, well, we'll stifle Russia with more sanctions. I'm quite interested in what they want to put out next, because they've literally sanctioned almost everything, apart from the things that they need for themselves, as we know. Because again, America goes first. And yet Russia's GDP growth is substantially higher than the European one, than the leading European economies. So yes, of course, we're behind India, behind China. We're facing incredible amount of pressure.
Okay.
But again, this is about the numbers. So let's be grateful to Donald Trump allowing the SCO countries and pushing them to thriving together and thriving in collaboration and cooperation.
Absolutely.
That might have not happened if it weren't for his incredible showmanship.
Okay, I want Madhav Nalapat and Richie to come into this. Richie first. Richie, you were nodding and you seem to be in agreement with Tatania on many counts. I think part of it must be coming down from the Trump-Putin bonhomie.
We are aligned, yeah.
Donald Trump bringing Washington and Moscow to the same page,
Well, you and I, we both agree very much that Trump is a showman. And I have been on this panel before in the past where I explained to everyone around the world that this is Trump's demeanor. This is how he is. This is how he acts. He is a showman. He likes the attention. And our dear host just before said that no one is listening to Trump. No one's listening to America. That's wrong. Everyone's listening to him.
I gave you examples. I gave you examples with the headlines of the last 12 hours, Richie.
Can I add to that?
Everyone is listening to Trump. And that doesn't mean that what you hear you're going to like. Also, as we know, he has written the books, The Art of the Deal. He's a businessman first. He likes to put things on the table. Sometimes they're not very appealing things on the table. Sometimes they're very rudimentary. Sometimes they are insulting, unfortunately. But that is him. In fact, him and I, we both come from the same area of New York, believe it or not. But I'm not really like Trump. So I understand him. I don't get upset
don't
by
call
him.
it New York effect. It's a fantastic city.
He's wary about being compared.
This is how he is. And the fact, as my colleague from Moscow has said, right, Tatiana, you said that, he is the force that has pushed people together to talk, to have dialogue, to negotiate in certain ways, and to come together to resolve issues. And even though he might have not been directly involved in many things, he forces other people and other nations, in this case, to come together. And it's having a positive effect.
Now,
okay,
let me tell you.
Tatane, would you want to respond to this, or I will go to Professor Nalapa?
Yes,
you respond and I'll go to Madhav.
There's a very big difference between forcing other countries or allowing them to because they just look at what he does and say, okay, no, I'm not going to talk to this. I'm going to talk to
but
my friends here.
But the options are there. You got the options.
Something.
No, but I do agree.
It's just like with the resolution of the crisis with Pakistan, no, Donald Trump is not responsible for everything that happens on the face of the planet. I'm sorry. He wishes to, but no, there are a lot of very, very important developments that happen without him knowing and during the
same stage in China. And it's happening in exactly 2 days from now. That's on a lighter note, but I want to go to Madhav Nalapat. See, Madhav, also what he's done is, Mr. Nalapat, in the last 24 hours, you had this grouping called Quad, right? Look what Quad countries have done, Quad nations. Japan decided not to send its negotiation team to America. They've cancelled the visit. Just as Prime Minister had taken off from London, from Delhi for Tokyo. It happened last night. Yesterday afternoon, we had the breaking news update that the Japanese negotiating team is not going for the trade talks. And then you had Australia, the Australian minister who said on record that he opposes the tariffs imposed by America. He also made a very interesting comment. He said, we are for diversification, hinting that they want to look at other markets. They're tired of this global order. They want to diversify. Everyone's looking out for their own. Effectively, Donald Trump is upset even the Quad, right? He's almost destroying the Quad by this reckless, tariff that he's imposing on countries. Smaller countries are staring back at him. Madhavji.
Look, I want to just make a very simple point. When you are a civilized human being, you behave as a civilized human being, which basically means showing respect to others and treating others with respect You don't trample on them. You don't bully them. You don't shout at them. You don't abuse them. And that too, not in the privacy of a room, but on live television, preening in front of the cameras. I mean, the situation is no self-respecting country can tolerate this kind of bullying. No self-respecting leader can tolerate this kind of bullying. May I point out very respectfully to President Trump? I mean, you were born in a billionaire's house. You only known wealth. Prime Minister Modi was born among the poorest of the poor. He comes from one of the most backward locations, and he made his way up by great hardship, immense hardship. That's a big difference between him and President Trump. President Trump doesn't understand how those who are not millionaires, billionaires or at least millionaires can live.
Okay.
Prime Minister Modi knows how the poorest of people live, and he empathizes with that. And that's what a good human being should be.
Professor Nalapat.
Not somebody who, I'm sorry, just listen. Please don't, interject the way President Trump does. Look, I read a book, in his years out of power. And if you go on Google, you'll find I've supported Trump from 2015 when he didn't even declare his candidacy. That's why the last 5 or 6 weeks, have really shocked me. And I read a book by his niece that the man has no empathy whatsoever. I'm forced to concede that. The way he talks about the global south, I don't want to even name it, David, but the first letter starts with S, and the last letter is with E, and we all know what he said. I mean, that's the kind of language that somebody who's fighting in some gutter will use, not the President of the United States. And you can't expect a self-respecting country like India. As I pointed out, we did not succumb when we were starving. We're not going to succumb now when we have surplus stocks. And I can tell you, US tech companies are not going to stay away because of President Trump. They have made it very clear they're going to continue in India because they're going to grow in India and they're going to develop in India. No one is listening to President Trump except the echo chamber around him, which basically relies on him for their care and feeding.
Okay, Professor Nalapat, I was interjecting because I wanted a little different nuanced view also from you. But before that, I have to get in David. David, given the last 40 minutes of conversation that we have had, and we began with India's GDP numbers, you think that President Trump came really unprepared into the presidency so far as India is concerned? He really misread Prime Minister Modi despite his friendship, and he really misread India's resolve to really stare down.
Sure. So, I think that President Modi and President Trump still have a great relationship, and it's ongoing. And, by the way, I'm a big fan of, India's administration now as well. I think most Americans are, especially in our party. Now, with that being said, we are dealing with some things that are transitory. So those has to do with trade mostly and making America fair again. We had a similar arrangement with our friends, the Chinese, and that has bared some good fruits now. So there's been some concessions there. So, tariffs are not a bad thing, and either are closed borders. I mean, our friends in India do the exact same thing. So have we taken a page out of their playbook? Maybe we have. But here's what we're doing right now.
How much time? Here's what we're doing right now. Hang on. David, quick last word. David, I have 40 seconds on the show. I just want to get Victor because he's barely spoken in this. Victor, we've bought over 1,000 tanks that are operational from Russia. Our S-400 defense system is the backbone of our, defense, right? Air defense system. We have over 200 Sukhois in our fleet. The BrahMos missile, jointly developed by India and Russia. Now, these are facts that America does not like. It irritates them, right? That we have had a long standing relationship with Russia. But interesting, going into this meeting, right, in China at the SCO summit, what are your takeaways? I'm giving you the last word, Victor. In 30 seconds, if you can summarize what you're looking forward to.
Thank you very much. I see a much more expanded and enhanced SCO. And allow me to quote one distinguished Indian who told me that among all the countries in the world, Russia has never betrayed India, and the former Soviet Union never betrayed India. Therefore, for any country try to throw a wedge into Russian-Indian friendship is futile. They don't know what's going on between India and the former Soviet Union and today's Russia for decades. And I think with both Russia and India, as well as China, as important members of SCO, I'm pretty sure this year's SCO summit will be crowned with great success, and Prime Minister Modi will emerge as a victor because he is making peace with all the other members of SCO at the time when the United States is manhandling India, dismissing the Indian economic prospect, and showing disrespect for the people of India.
Fantastic point to end with. I know if I allow Abhishek to start talking about the number of times America has backstabbed India, he won't stop. He's done a thesis on that. But Abhishek, last word.
No, equally China, Niranjan, I would say, let's not get very excited about China. Victor is my friend. I can tell him on his face that let's not get very excited about China either. But then this is a game of chess. And, everyone is guarding their own interest.
Right.
Just as America has right to be mega, India has right to be mega. And of course, she hosting all the world leaders. That's tomorrow and day after. We, of course, will keep you abreast and updated.
精彩视频看完了，高志凯教授在此次辩论中的表现，充分展现了中国学者自信、理性且富有战略视野的对外沟通风格。他的发言围绕中印关系、全球经济格局及多边合作展开，具有以下鲜明特点。首先，他始终把握对话的主动权。开场即祝贺印度 GDP 高增长切入，既展现友好姿态，又巧妙驳斥了西方所谓印度经济崩溃的论调，立论扎实。他强调中印作为两个超大规模人口国家的共同责任，将双边关系提升到全球治理的高度，引导对话超越领土争端等具体分歧，转向更具有建设性的大国合作框架。其次，他精准地批判了美国的霸权行径，但避免情绪化指控，通过指出特朗普政府轻视印度、霸凌他国的行为，他间接揭示了美国单边主义对全球秩序的破坏，同时呼吁中印通过加强合作，向世界证明多极世界的可能性。这种批评既有锋芒，又保持外交礼仪范围内。最后，他巧妙串联多边机制，以共同利益，通过强调上合组织 SCO 峰会的重要性，以及俄罗斯与印度传统友谊的可靠性。他传递出中国致力于推动全球南方国家团结协作，反对西方主导的阵营对抗的清晰信号。其发言将经济议题如能源贸易、GDP 增长以地缘战略深度绑定，体现了中国互利共赢的叙事逻辑。总体而言，高志凯的辩论策略成熟，以数据事实为基础，以共同利益为纽带，以多边合作为愿景，既坚定维护中国立场，又有效争取印度受众的理解，是一次成功的国际舆论沟通范例。谢谢大家观看，喜欢请点赞、评论、加订阅，你的支持是我最大的动力。比心，明天见，拜拜。